So about maybe 6 months ago, it might have been longer than that, subscriber Corey, I'm not going to give his last name here, asked if the Boss Katana could do a Bogner Uberschall type tone, and I wasn't quite sure. I had to do a little research on it, and I looked it up, and I think I came kind of close. Maybe. I don't know. It's a very tough amp to kind of EQ when you're trying to listen to it on like YouTube, especially when you got stereo guitars on there. That'll throw you off in there, so I threw a little harmony in here. But this shouldn't be a long one. I got like 9 different tones. You're only going to get like 3 or 4 of them within the live set, so I'm going to give you the best of the best, and I worked it. It took me some time to work it up. Like I said, I think I got pretty close. We're comparing a $400 amp to a $3,400 head. So, as you can imagine, it's not going to be perfect, but it is a gritty, dirty, disgustingly heavy tone. That's kind of fun to play on a down-tuned guitar, or I've got a standard tuned guitar behind me. It might be tuned down to drop D, but this one here, I've got it tuned down to drop C sharp, and that's what you just heard. So let's take a look at it in the editor. So like I said, I've got a bunch of different. This is where I started. Bogner Uber, and then Uber 2, 3, 4, 5, just because along the way I try to save them as I'm going along, just in case I got to go back and rework something. It's just good practice to do that. And I've come to the Uber 5, and that was the first one you heard, and the Ultra 3, that was the second one you heard. It's a little more scooped than the Uber 5, and the Uber 5 has a little more bottom end. And then I've got this clean one right here that I just kind of turned off the dirt and... I'm a little out of tune. But it's a nice little clean tune. But we're not here to talk about cleans, are we? We are here to talk about the dirty, the nitty-gritty. So if we're going to start off with the Bogner Uber 5, let me turn this down. That's another thing. You're really going to have to play around with your noise suppressor, because if you have too much decay, you're going to lose a lot of sustain. So let's look at the editor on the Bogner Uber 5. Let's start down here in the chain. I got it on chain 2-2 because I think, yeah, I've got a chorus in there. Let's play with that a little bit, because I've got the chorus before the amp. Let's turn it up and listen to it, what it's like after the booster. So I've got it after the booster there, but this is where I have it actually in the patch. So, feel free to figure out whichever way you prefer it. That was terrible. So the chain, I've got it on 2-2, and let's go across the top here. I got it on the brown channel, because I wanted it as much dirt, because it's a lot of gain in this thing. It's gain upon gain. You'll see it once we go through all this. I mean, you already heard it. So it's a lot of gain on top of a lot of gain. And I've got the gain. How many times am I going to say gain here? At 81, and the volume at 76. I've got the bass at 64, and I've got the mid scoop down to 14, treble at 75, and the presence at 38 with a deep cabinet resonance. And you can use these patches with the new Gen 3, but they're going to sound probably a little wider, a little beefier, and you can play with the cabinet resonance on Tone Studio and that if you got a Gen 3. Moving down to noise suppressor, I've got the release at 31. When you're playing it without headphones, you're going to have to play with that a lot, because it is a loud tone, and the louder it is, the better it is. But the release, if you got it too low, you're not going to have a whole lot of sustain. So once you start letting off a note, it's going to fade out really quickly. And I got the threshold kind of cranked on there. You're going to have to work that on your own. But let's go over to the booster. On top of the brown, I've got the Distortion Plus for the Uber 5. And I've got the drive cranked up to 82. And let's just hear it without the drive real quick. It already sounds heavy. Turn the booster on. And that really kind of drives it home. Now, if you're wondering what videos I based this off of, there was 2 videos, and one was from Blake Mansfield's channel, and it was a Mark II, and the other one was from Brandon RZ. I'll link both of those down in the description for you to check out, and that's what I kind of use to shape these tones. So if you want to compare and contrast, that's fine with me. Like I said, I wasn't trying to get it perfect, but I was trying to get as close as possible. So you can see my settings right across the board for the Distortion Plus. And I threw a chorus in there because I wanted to make it sound a little kind of, give it a chorus, give it almost like a double-tracked sound to it, make it wider. The chorus just adds that nice, thick, almost a stereo sound to it, like a double-track sound. And then for effects, I've got a harmonist, and that just kind of, again, I was trying to give it like two voices, like almost like it's in stereo. It's like almost like it's harmonizing, and you can hear that. Let's turn off the chorus and the harmonizer and see what it sounds like. It just sounds a little dead, but if you turn on the harmonizer, and it's in unison, so it almost sounds like there's two there. And over here on delay, I've just got a modulate delay, and I've got it. It's kind of subtle, but it's not too much. You turn it off. It's just barely back there in the background. And no delay too, but I do have a plate reverb on here. Not moderate. The pre-delay is a little bit moderate, but the effects level isn't too high. So that reverb just gives it some reverb. Now, where all the magic happened creating this tone was within the EQ, because there was no way, if you weren't using the EQ, you were even going to get close to the sound. So with my parametric EQ settings, I've got them similar to what I normally use, but some decibels are a little higher than others. Some gain levels are a little higher than others. The high mid is actually lower than I normally put, and I've got the Qs turned up. But then you go over to graphic equalizer, and I have the mids at a moderate level, and everything else is kind of there. But then to give it that gritty, fuzzy bite to it, I've got the 16 hertz kind of cranked a little bit. So that is the Uber 5, and we'll go over to the Uber Ultra here in just a minute. So let's go over to the Uber Ultra 3. This is the other one, and this is a little more scooped, a little less bass in it. This one's a little more grittier, just a little dirtier sounding. And again, I've got the brown channel on, and for the booster, I've got the metal zone. So if you wanted that really buzzy sound, add the metal zone. I've got it kind of cranked too. I normally don't go past noon on a metal zone pedal ever, but this time I just kind of cranked it and kind of went with it in effects levels. Normally don't go above 50, but in order to obtain this tone, I did. And again, the chorus and harmonist and everything else is the same across the board. I just kind of changed the boosters, and I did play with the graphic equalizer here a little bit, and I turned the bass down in the parametric EQ as well, and bumped up the high mid frequencies just a hair, just so kind of give it a different sound. So we're going back to it again. So this guitar is a single pickup. It's kind of hot. Both pickups are kind of hot. This one's probably closer to 15 k ohms, and that one down there is closer to 13 or 14. So this is a hot one, but I've got it tuned to drop D, E standard down to drop D. And this is with the Ultra 3. And we'll switch back over to the Uber 5. So that is it. These tones will be available to download from the Boss Tone Exchange. The link is down in the description. I hope you enjoy them. If you can make changes to them, make them better, by all means, they're all yours, completely free and for you to use. In fact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to include every one of these, and maybe it's something you can play with. You'll see where I started. You'll see where I finished. Obviously, the highest number is the last one I did, so that's where I got to it. And if you can make them better, by all means. And if you do, come back, leave a link in the description, or at least tell me your username in the Boss Tone Exchange and tell me that you made some changes to it, and I'll be more than happy to check them out. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe for more content like this and gear reviews. If you like this video, smash that like button. We'll see you next time.